Have you ever caught her looking at you just a second too long? Or maybe she laughed a little too hard at your joke, one that wasn't even that funny. Maybe she accidentally touched your arm when reaching for something, and you're left wondering, was that just her being friendly or was there something more? In today's video, we're going to break down the secret signs women give off when they're secretly attracted to you but aren't ready to admit it. These are signs so subtle most men miss them completely, but once you learn to spot them, the way she looks at you, how she touches you, how she listens, you'll start to realize attraction speaks long before words do. And stay with me until the end, because I'll share a real-life story where a single lingering look completely changed the course of a friendship. There's a difference between a glance and a gaze. And if you've ever caught a woman holding eye contact with you for just a second too long, that wasn't by accident. Eye contact is one of the most powerful ways we connect as humans. But when it lingers, even just a moment, it becomes something else. It becomes a question she's silently asking. Do you see me the way I see you? Psychology calls this mutual gaze, and studies have shown that when two people maintain eye contact for more than 4 seconds, their bodies react, heart rates rise, dopamine spikes, and a strange kind of tension fills the air. She might not even realize she's doing it. Her glance could be followed by a soft smile, a shy glance away, or a quick blink, but the truth is, attraction often starts in the eyes. I once had a friend, let's call him Nate, who told me he used to catch this girl in his study group looking at him whenever he wasn't speaking. She'd lock eyes for just a little longer than necessary, then look away as soon as he noticed. At first he thought it was coincidence, but it kept happening, and each time the energy between them shifted just a bit. Eventually he decided to test it. The next time she looked at him that way, he held her gaze and smiled. She blushed, looked down, and later that week she asked him to grab coffee. That one look, it wasn't just a look, it was the beginning. So next time you catch her eyes locking with yours, don't brush it off. A lingering glance can say what words never do. A touch can be innocent or it can be intentional. And when a woman is secretly drawn to you, she might not say it out loud, but her fingertips will say it for her. Think about it. She taps your shoulder when she laughs, lightly brushes against your arm when passing by, or gives you a playful push during a joke. These aren't just random habits, they're physical ways of closing the emotional distance between you. In psychology, touch is one of the 5 primary love languages. It creates warmth, familiarity, and most importantly, trust. And here's the crazy part. Research shows that even a brief, gentle touch can release oxytocin, the same hormone released during hugs or intimate moments. It lowers defenses, builds rapport, deepens connection. I remember working with a guy, Mike. He had a coworker, Jenna, who always tapped his arm during meetings. He thought she was just expressive, but then he noticed she didn't do that with anyone else. She sat closer than she needed to, and when she laughed, she reached toward him every time. One day she reached for his arm again and held it a second longer. That was the moment Mike finally got it. Physical touch, especially from someone who isn't naturally touchy with everyone, isn't random, it's selective. And subtle touches like these, they're her way of saying, I feel safe around you and I want to be closer. Sometimes the things she doesn't say speak louder than anything she could. A woman who's secretly into you might never say you're handsome or I like you, but she'll show it through admiration disguised as casual comments. She may praise your work ethic. Notice how you treat others, or say things like, you're always so calm in stressful situations. I don't know how you do it. These aren't random compliments, they're subtle spotlights on traits she values, traits she's emotionally responding to. Psychologists call this value signaling. When we're drawn to someone, we naturally highlight what makes them stand out. It's not flirting, it's fascination in disguise. I once knew a guy named Daniel, quiet, introverted. He worked in an office where one woman always asked him questions, not work-related ones, but things like, how do you always stay so organized? That playlist you made, I've been listening to it all week. She wasn't just making small talk, she was signaling, I see you, I notice what others might miss. And when he finally asked her out, her answer was, I was wondering how long it would take you. So if she's highlighting your strengths even in subtle ways, don't ignore it. She's probably already telling you how she feels, just not with words. You might be waiting for a big sign, a confession, a long paragraph, a bold move. But here's the brutal truth. The longer you wait for the obvious, the more likely you're missing the real thing. Because women don't always express interest with words. They do it through consistency, through effort, through presence. What if the message you're waiting for has already been sent over and over again, just not in a language you're used to hearing? Think about this. She remembers what you said 2 weeks ago. She laughs before the punchline. She finds reasons to stay when she could have left. That is the message, but it only works if you're fluent in silence. And if you're not, she'll stop sending. Attraction doesn't always show up with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives in the form of an extra cup of coffee, a text that says, "I saw this and thought of you," or a snack she hands you with a casual, "I figured you'd be hungry." These aren't random acts. These are what I call micro-investments. Little moments where she gives without being asked and without expecting anything in return. That's the real clue effort. Because when someone consistently makes effort for you in ways they don't for others, that means something. Psychologists say we remember small, consistent kindnesses far more than grand gestures. They build familiarity, trust, and emotional safety. Think about it. She remembers your favorite drink. She sends you memes tailored to your humor. She walks out of her way just to say hi. It's not just nice, it's intentional. I had a client named Josh. He told me about a woman in his building who always brought an extra umbrella just in case it rained. And somehow every time it rained, he'd be the one borrowing it. One day he asked, "You always carry two?" She smiled and said no, just when it looks like rain. You don't do that for someone you feel neutral about. You do that for someone you care about. So if she's putting in small, quiet effort, don't overlook it. In those tiny actions might be the loudest confession she'll ever make. When a woman starts opening up about things that go beyond the surface, her fears, her past, her family, her dreams, that's not just conversation, that's vulnerability. And vulnerability isn't given to just anyone, it's a sign that she trusts you. In psychology, emotional intimacy is considered one of the deepest forms of connection. It doesn't require physical closeness, it requires emotional safety. Think about it. Has she ever shared a story that made her voice drop? Confessed something she doesn't normally tell people? Asked for your advice about something personal, not professional? That's emotional risk, and risk only happens when the reward feels worth it. I had a student once, Marcus. He told me about a classmate, Alyssa, who always asked him about his family. One day she told him about her fear of being alone, that her parents were going through a rough divorce and she didn't know how to handle it. She didn't cry, she didn't make a big deal out of it. She just needed someone to hear her, and she chose him. Weeks later, when they started dating, she told him, "I knew I liked you and I could talk to you about that without feeling judged." That's the moment many guys miss, because when she's being real with you, not just playful, not just polite, but real, it's a sign she wants something real with you. In today's world, attention is rare. We're always multitasking, scrolling, tapping, thinking about what's next. So when someone gives you their full presence, it means something. When a woman is secretly drawn to you, she won't just listen, she'll really listen. She'll remember things you forgot you said. She'll ask follow-up questions days later. And when you're speaking, she won't be checking her phone or glancing around the room. Respect is a form of emotional investment. And when it's paired with focus, consistency, and care, it becomes one of the clearest signs she values you more than she's letting on. Psychologists call this attentive signaling. It's a nonverbal way of saying what you say matters, you matter. I knew a guy, Leo, who always brushed off this girl's attention as politeness. She always asked him how his weekend went, always remembered the name of his dog, even reminded him about a deadline he once vented about in passing. It wasn't until someone else pointed it out that he realized she was consistently tuned in, and not just as a friend, but as someone who cared. Presence is a gift. If she gives you hers again and again, don't assume it's just because she's nice. It may be her quietest, most respectful way of saying, "I see you." Attraction doesn't always shout. More often, it whispers in a lingering glance, in a small touch, in the way she remembers the smallest things about you when you didn't even remember saying them. These signs: eye contact, subtle touch, unspoken praise, meaningful conversation, thoughtful gestures, emotional openness, and respectful attention. They're not isolated. They build on each other layer by layer, quietly creating a picture she hopes you'll eventually see. But here's the truth most men overlook. She may never tell you how she feels, not because she's playing games, but because she's afraid you won't feel the same. So she shows you instead. And if you're watching carefully, you'll know. You'll see it in the way she smiles when you speak, in how she leans in when she listens, in how she opens up when she trusts. The signs are there, not always obvious, but always honest. So what should you do when you see them? You don't have to make a bold move or say something dramatic. You just have to respond with presence, with kindness, with courage. Maybe you smile back, maybe you mirror her effort, maybe you gently ask the question you've been holding in. Because sometimes the softest signals carry the strongest meaning. And when you learn to read between the lines, you'll stop wondering and start knowing.